Hi, everyone. My name is Leah Hill, and I'm going to be presenting the case presentation of a client that I've been working with in my day-to-day job. So let me tell you a little bit about it. Oh, having some technical difficulties. All right. So the client I'm going to talk to you about today, his name is Gabe. We're going to go with Gabe, obviously, to uphold the HIPAA and 42 CFR confidentiality clauses to protect his rights. So for that reason, I'll refer to him as Gabe. So Gabe is a 16-year-old African-American male. We've been working together for a little over a year and a half. And he was initially referred to me by his high school's substance use prevention program. So once he got to me and he was evaluated, he met criteria for alcohol use disorder, severe dependence, and cannabis use disorder, severe dependence. Gabe comes from a family, a very large family. His parents divorced back in 2020 during the pandemic, and he currently lives with his mom and 5 siblings. Of note, Gabe was witness and survivor of domestic violence by his father in the years leading up to his parents' divorce. And current supports for him include his school counselor, his school substance use prevention counselor, his school Black Student Union mentor, and myself as his outpatient SUD therapist. So the crisis. Recently, Gabe was charged with grand larceny and criminal mischief by county sheriffs after an attempt to steal a vehicle with a peer from school. He was apprehended using their canine unit, which required stitches. So they transported him to the emergency department to make sure that he was medically cleared before they brought him to the county courthouse to be arraigned. From that arraignment, it was determined that until his upcoming court date, Gabe would be placed on an electronic home monitoring system with probation while awaiting his next court date. So contributing factors for Gabe, I broke this into precipitating factors, most immediately precipitating the event, distal factors that have happened and occurred with him previously, and more proximal factors within like the last year. So precipitating factors leading up to the incident itself. So increased use in alcohol in the days coming up to what would be the evening of his brother's high school graduation. After talking to his mom, turns out that, she was floored because he had had such a long and extended period without any incidents. And we're talking like a few months since the last time he had any, running away or any interactions with law enforcement. And we kind of got the sense that it was a down period, but just the timing of him, uh, you know, running away in the middle of the night to, attempt to steal a vehicle with a friend on the evening of his brother's high school graduation. The timing is very interesting given the family dynamics. Additionally, in this downtime where there haven't been any incidents, Gabe has been a lot more isolated at home. For him, that can be a good thing, but it's because it keeps him a little bit out of like trouble. However, it also gives him time to kind of ruminate on things, and almost like gets the pot boiling. And we've seen that historically with him. So some distal factors. One involves family conflict, both past and present. The divorce between his parents and the history of domestic violence have led to some disagreements about who should have custody of the kids. Currently, his mother does, and the kids feel most safe with their mother because of the incidents of domestic violence. Gabe personally has a history of impulsivity, aggression, and theft. One of the things that was put on my radar for this referral was the substance use and him chronically stealing from classmates and from stores in the community that he lives in. So while it's not a, while the theft of or attempted theft of a vehicle isn't outside the realm of his patterns of behavior, the escalation in what he was attempting to steal definitely was cause for concern. And another cultural factor that should be considered is that Gabe was and is raised in a Muslim family. So he practices his religion. He goes through and engages with his daily prayers. And we've had conversations about how at times he feels conflicted between his Muslim culture and the religion of Islam, which he believes in, and the dissonance with the American culture in which he's growing up in. Those types of tensions run through a lot of veins with the family, with peers, and just his general sense of self where he is developmentally. Proximal factors. So within the last about year, Gabe has run away 2 times. He was, basically a missing persons report has been put out twice for him. He was apprehended by law enforcement on those 2 occasions within the last 9 months. There's also been increases in his suicidal ideation with planned but no intent or attempts. This increase in this elevation of concern and risk has been something that's been on everyone's radar who's in his field of supports, including his mom. So we've been keeping an eye on it. One of the other things we've noticed is that there's been a significant change in his social group over the last 12 months. As in his social group has decreased in size, which has led to an increase in isolation and who he's choosing to spend time with when he does spend time with peers. So all of that being said, some analysis and actions of next steps as it pertains to Gabe's current situation. So ideally, my desired outcome as a social worker would be for Gabe to complete residential treatment for substance use disorder as an alternative to juvenile detention. In addition to supporting skill development per my previous recommendation for a higher level of care, which he was not interested in. It's important to know that in the state of New York, substance use treatment cannot be mandated for any individual, minors or otherwise. So that collaborative participation and that willingness to engage in it is crucial, with the exception of if the courts tell people that that's the best option. The level of action here then becomes collaborative and long-term. Collaborative because now Gabe has entered into the legal system. So he's going to have to adhere to whatever the mandates of the courts are moving forward, pending the outcome of these charges that have been brought against him. My role and goal through this then is to support him in making an informed decision about connecting what his highest hopes are and the best next steps to move him towards his highest hopes. This is going to be a long-term process, and this particular crisis is just a juncture, albeit an amplified juncture in the longer process that we've been in during his course of treatment. So that being said, there are going to be legal and behavioral health implications, including an increased level of care, which are options on the table and will remain to be seen pending the outcome over, the coming months. Additionally, things to consider in terms of threats of reoccurrence of the behavior and also preventative factors. So there are multiple threats to reoccurrence, but in the case of Gabe particularly, any increases in substance use, whether that's alcohol, THC, or both, amplify the risk of him to indulge or to move forward with like very impulsive, risky behavior taking. Also, any non-adherence to court mandates is going to also amplify the risk for him to have a recurrence in this level of behavior and engagement with law enforcement. I know that from working with him, Gabe does not love feeling like he's backed into a corner. And because of this particular situation, now that he has been involved with law enforcement and is entering into the court system, he's going to be faced with many situations in which he's not particularly keen on feeling like he doesn't have options. So working with him collaboratively through that is going to be very critical at this juncture. And that includes, an additional threat of him possibly declining an offer for residential treatment in lieu of juvenile detention. He more or less has already said to his mom and, coming out of court that, if it's between residential and detention center, like just send him to the detention center. So it'll be interesting to see what he tells me about, his perspective on these things as we move forward. But he does fortunately have some preventative factors as well. And those include familial, educational, and professional supports. His mom is just such a wonderful advocate, and she's got so much going on, but she gives as much of her attention and care to Gabe as possible and is really open to collaborating with all of his additional supports on top of his educational support. So I know that he's also in summer school right now. So he does have access to some of the school resources, albeit not as intensely as during, the normal school year. And then, of course, he has professional support. So he's going to continue to work with me. And we're looking to add additional providers where we can to help him. One of the most recent and positive additions, though, has been his Black Student Union mentor from school, who is a positive Black male role model. And I think that this is going to be, it's an opportunity for a critical shift for Gabe in particular because of the contentious relationship he has with his own father. And per his mom, he's been really receptive to meeting, once a week with this mentor. So additional preventative factors include the electronic home monitoring system to help, at least put some boundaries in place. And then, of course, also getting him linked to outpatient mental health counseling. So that is a little bit of the background of my client Gabe. It's definitely an evolving situation. It's one that is going to require a lot of collaboration, communication, a lot of motivational interviewing when we do work together, and just distress tolerance, because if you know anyone or have been in the court systems, it adds a specific type of stress to a situation. And he's young, so our hope is that we can intervene here sooner than later to hopefully support him in changing course. So thank you so much for sitting with me to learn about Gabe. And I look forward to your comments and remarks on his story. All right. Thanks so much. Bye.